Hi folks, how are you? I'm sure you having a wonderful time in your career and life, and I hope your family is doing well too. All of us are kind of employees for life at various points in time, though continuously or intermittently. It's how we take or handle our career. We are all of us do report to bosses at various points in time, and it is very important that the boss-subordinate relationship is very good, and at the same time we also enjoy professionally working with such a boss. But today, what happens is in the corporate world we have all kind of bosses. We've got bosses who are very friendly and who really support you and even probably play the role of a godfather in allowing you to grow your career. People like that who have somebody as a godfather and who helps you to groom yourself and to grow yourself in a career, probably we are a bit lucky. But what happens is in a lot of times we also encounter toxic bosses who are extremely negative, bosses who are self-centric, bosses who love to put you down, and bosses who never allow you to bloom, if I can use that word. So how do you handle such bosses is a billion-dollar question, and I'm sure there are about hundreds and hundreds of videos which talk about it, but I'll give a very different perspective in terms of how you can handle toxic bosses. Number one, a lot of times when you are in a very large organization, you can probably look at if you can make some cross-functional movement and move to some other function to probably have a different boss. Yes, it is not very easy a lot of times, but today we are all working in if we are working in very large organizations, we've got multiple projects, multiple teams and things like that, then it is practically possible. All you have to do is probably be very diplomatic to your HR leader or somebody in HR. Tell them that you probably would want to move around to a different functional area or a sub-functional area, primary, because you think you're not doing your best under the present leadership. I think without mincing words, if you just are diplomatic enough, this also sends a kind of a signal to the HR leader that there could be an issue and it is in the larger interest of the organization that you are accommodated elsewhere. But it is very important in this case that probably you ought to be a very reasonably good performer. As long as your performance indices are good, as long as your metrics in terms of revenue contribution and things like that, however this is measured, is good. I'm very sure that in very large organizations and multifunctional teams, this accommodation is very likely possible. One important thing you should notice in this is that number one, you should probably not get into a conflict mode with your present boss, who is probably a very toxic boss. Yes, that is what we're discussing about. Not probably, he is a toxic boss, and the whole idea of you wanting to move to a different sub-functional team or a functional team is only because this boss is toxic. But what happens is you probably be very diplomatic to your present toxic boss until you have these options worked out with other teams in the organization or through a HR leader or some other functional head who's probably known to you or who's proximate to you. That helps to the point that this toxic boss cannot scuttle your plans within the organization. This is very realistically possible. A lot of times people might tell you that this is going to backfire because a toxic boss is going to extract his revenge and things like that, but really things don't work like that in very large organizations where they are starved of good talent and they will not want to let go of good talent who will move away because there is a bad boss. And remember, such toxic bosses, when there are large teams, there is more than one person in your team who is going to feel that toxicity and probably communicate to others within the organization about the feeling of toxicity that this present boss is emanating. So this is a very good plan to handle a toxic boss. The other plan probably is a plan B, where you really need to explore moving out of the organization. Yes, I am someone who advocates a lot of stability in your work life. I honestly tell even freshers that in their first assignment which they join from the campus, they should do about 3 to 5 years or a minimum of 3 years, because if they keep rolling on after 1 year and 1 year and 1 year, they literally are seen as rolling stones which gather no moss in terms of competencies and skills. And this applies not alone just for freshers, even if you look at the long-term career, even if you have about 10 or 15 years of experience, in that 15 years of experience you probably have done 3 or 4 jobs is ideal, but in 15 years of experience you've done more than 10 jobs, then there's a problem with stability. So yes, I am someone who advocates a lot of stability for candidates in their own interest and in their own career interest, but at the same time there is very little you can do and very little you can gain when you have a very toxic boss, because one, your productivity is affected, two, your mental health is for sure going to be affected, because good bosses really don't get on your nerves beyond our office hours, whereas bad bosses or toxic bosses get on your nerves 24/7. Your personal quality of life is going to take a big hit. Like it or not, we are all human beings, and when we get really rubbed on the wrong side consistently and continuously for about 12 hours of a day, which is our working day, this is going to spill over to our family life. We are going to vent it out on your family, vent it on our spouse and kids, unless otherwise we are extremely emotionally strong or emotionally well balanced, or use the word I'll come with, emotionally very high emotional quotient. But for that, all of us are going to have this spillover effect, which will affect the quality of our personal lives in a big way. So when you when you are faced with a toxic boss, it is not alone that your work environment is bad, your work performance is bad. For sure, your family life or your personal life, your personal quality of life is going to take a big hit. So what do you do? The only way to handle this is probably start looking out elsewhere, start finding a better option in terms of a career, and frankly I think at some point you need to probably tell the outside world or the prospective employer that the single reason why this particular assignment has not gone very well is because of a toxic boss. As long as you have a decent profile till date, what I'm calling is a decent resume till date, a resume which there has been a lot of stability and contribution in the past 3-4 jobs, and only in this particular assignment you probably are looking out in 3 to 6 months time because things are very bad on the boss front. I think everybody is going to be as a very reasonable one. Yes, as I keep telling my favorite line, you should have told your stories right. I have put up another video on storytelling. It is linked here. You can watch it. So whatever CV you have till now, make sure that your story is wonderful, your storyline is wonderful, your professional storyline is something which someone else really wants to pick it up immediately from a prospective employer's point of view. So if you have that kind of a storyline and you have told that story rightly, this particular singular stint which has been not good or which has been bad, not because of but because of your toxic boss, is not going to affect or reflect on you in a big way in the prospective hire. There are good employers who will hire people who can do well. There are good employers who understand very well that your present short stint is because of toxic bosses, and you're only finding a reason to get away from the toxic boss, not because it is in your own interest. You're also wanting to contribute better to the organization, and because you're not able to contribute in the present role under a toxic boss, you're seeking greener pastures. So these are the two ways in which you can handle toxic bosses. The first way is what I told you in the beginning of this video. That is about moving to a different team, moving to cross-functional team, which is distinctly possible probably in IT kind of a companies or large manufacturing companies and things like that, which have got very large operations teams, and there are multiple functions, and also there is an assumption that you are skilled in more than one particular area, so that you can move to a different function or sub-function and handle yourselves. If that is not possible, the second way is to really move away from the organization, move to a better role, hoping that there is a better boss remaining there. But there are a lot of people or a lot of career coaches and consultants who advocate that you should probably manage the toxic boss, you should probably be friendly with him, you should probably tolerate him and things like that. All this I would probably categorize it as what I probably in my own style call it as hugging the porcupine. It is not going to get anywhere. You are going to get hurt, you are going to get mauled, and the porcupine doesn't care. So why do you want to hug a porcupine by kind of kind of misleading yourself into thinking that you can manage a toxic boss? There is no way you can manage a toxic boss beyond a particular point. It is going to affect your personal life, it is going to affect your productivity, it is going to affect your on-the-job productivity. So if you are faced with a toxic boss, I think you should bite the bullet, move on, move to a different team if it is possible within the organization, or in the absence of that, move to a different organization for better prospects, for greener pastures. These are the only ways you can have a toxic boss, in my own opinion. I'm sure you all have seen toxic bosses. Do comment as to how you handle them, and do also tell me that you think you can hug the porcupine for a longer time so that your career is going to be better. You think it is possible? I'm not sure. You tell me if it is going to be possible. Thanks for your time. I'm sure your career is going to be very bright in the coming years. I wish you all the very best, and hang on in this channel time and again for wonderful content like this. Thank you. Consider liking and subscribing to this video and channel. Thank you. Have a great day.